In the next video, I want to talk about these marketers. What happens when they work together to bring real business impact? By taking the example of our beloved Rahul. If Rahul, the business owner, decides to seek the right marketers to make sure his business becomes a success, how would that go? Welcome to episode 3 of Marketing for Business Owners. I'm Karan, Chief Marketing Consultant and Dam.in. Let's start from where we left off. Rahul, the business owner, tells the marketer that he is struggling to attract more customers and asks for his help. The business owner conducts a probable diagnosis by asking questions, demanding data, and conducting market research. You know that. Let me share with you what happens next. He finds the restaurant gets 60% of their monthly revenue from weekends. The average order value per customer is Rs 350, which is quite low. Third is most of the orders, almost 50% of the orders, are main course items. As you know, these are just symptoms, but the real question is what's causing them. The marketer spends a week at the restaurant, complete days, and notices a few more things, like the majority of the people who come during the day are students from nearby coaching centers, and they order something small for a quick lunch between classes, like noodles, burger, sandwich, sometimes cold drinks, all of them being low ticket items and low margin items. Over the weekend, student crowd is less, but many family and friends walk in. They walk in for lunch, but mostly for dinners. They usually order main course right away, enjoy a nice meal, and leave. From that, the marketer understands what kind of customers the restaurant is currently attracting. But to help this business, what needs to be done? Before I share that, remember our example from episode 1, where you visited a doctor when you had a fever. He conducted a probable diagnosis. Now let's say the doctor suspects bacterial illness. What would the doctor do? He has to confirm, right? So he recommends you some tests, sometimes more than one, to find the real cause of the fever. But like all things in life, tests take time, sometimes a lot. But what happens in the meantime? The doctor writes down a prescription for a problem that he thinks it is. That would be prescribing you broad spectrum antibiotics. But why? The doctor wasn't sure, right? The reason is, in most cases, it'll help with the fever since the likelihood of him being right is very high. But not just that, it also helps the doctor confirm if the disease was indeed bacterial or not. For those who want to know, it's called empirical treatment. But how? The doctor will ask you to come back after a few days, right? When you report back to the doctor saying that you are better, that means that the disease was indeed bacterial. If you say you didn't get better, the doctor knows that he was wrong and the disease was something else. So with this knowledge, now I'll go back to our previous question. To help Rahul's business, what needs to be done? The answer is to conduct some tests to confirm the hypothesis and give medicines in the meantime. Now you understand why that is. So what's our hypothesis here? The first hypothesis that the marketer comes up with is the young crowd of working bachelors from nearby colleges who want to eat North Indian aren't walking in. Why? The reasons can be either they don't know about the place or they think it's not good enough. Maybe they think it's too expensive or something like maybe there's never parking here. Any of these reasons are possible. The second is the people who come to the restaurant, why do they only come for main course? The marketer suspects from that either there is some problem with starters or snacks. Maybe they aren't that good and people don't want to eat them. Maybe they are that good but people don't know that they are good. So what do you think is the medicine? There are many actually. To attract the working bachelors and the student crowd, the marketer puts up a team to work on online ordering and discovery platforms like Zomato and Swiggy. Tasks like menu and pricing modification is done, profile is optimized, strategic offers like 20% discounts on reservation on weekdays, for example, are put in place to get the restaurant discovered in front of them. People in the restaurant are offered a 10% discount just for a couple of months to give a rating on these platforms so that the profile gets even stronger. What will happen is, slowly, online orders and new walk-ins from such crowds will start developing during work weeks. When the marketer suspected that the starters and snacks at this restaurant maybe are not that good or people don't know about it, to confirm that, to check out what's really happening, the marketer invites a handful of food influencers to try them. What he hears from them is that Rahul's restaurant's starters and snacks could be significantly improved. The marketer will then teams up with Rahul and the chefs. Why? To improve the product. While all of that is happening, Rahul told the marketer to advertise the restaurant and promote it as a great place to host kitty parties. So Rahul launched a few campaigns on social media for the same. Some enquiries came, but only one booking. The marketer spoke to the enquiries that called but didn't book. He found out that the reason they did not book the restaurant was because the vibe was not matching, which means the interiors were not that good. This input was incredibly helpful, even though it came at a price. But why? Because after learning that, the marketer puts a stop and trying to convince women to host their kitty parties here. Even working professionals who love to work from a cafe or a restaurant on their weekdays. Why? Because it was not going to be worth it. The ROI of the money would have been negative. Until the place is such that the crowd would love it here. With good interiors and strong Wi Fi, there's no need to do that. This was a typical example, by the way, that sometimes what you think is the answer is not really true, and you have to test it out to confirm. In the meantime, after a lot of iterations, once the marketer and Rahul were confident about their starters and snacks, waiters were trained to recommend them to all customers, even if they have to offer like a discount up to 20%. The goal was not to make money here, but the goal was to make as many people as possible to try them and get feedback. Soon, the demand for starters and snacks will also grow, both in online and offline orders. By such activities, soon Rahul and the marketer didn't just experience higher order, but also saw a higher average order value per order. This is how a typical business's problem is fixed. It takes time, iterations, and a lot of research, talking to customers, and the right strategy to fix it once it's diagnosed. To be honest, this story was a little oversimplification. Why that is because, as you know, business problems are not straightforward. They are actually complex and not easy to figure out. Unlike the medical history, confirmatory tests don't exist in marketing, so you can never be 100% sure what the problem is. Even if you talk to 10 customers, you'll get 9 different inputs. If you talk to 10 influencers about food, the same thing will happen. That's why I always say marketing is not a task, it's a process. Finding out the real problem in the first attempt almost never happens for any business. Doesn't matter which marketer you hired. Even knowing what strategy will work for your target market, even after knowing the problem, which is already diagnosed, that's not easy. That is why hiring a good marketer is extremely valuable for a business. And once you do, give them the time to figure out the problem. Don't be in a rush to see results. Have patience. Let the marketer diagnose first. Until you know what the actual problem is. Anything you do will be like shooting an arrow blindfolded and hoping it hits the fish's eye. At the end of the day, it's your business, remember, and you will be the one who bears the loss of ineffective marketing. That's it for this video. And by the way, do you know, as a business, there are cases when despite doing everything right, the business is still sick and doesn't recover. That is not uncommon. I have also seen some cases when business owners did the right diagnosis for their businesses, but the solution they implemented was the right one in the short term. But in the long term, that became the reason they can't grow anymore. In the next episode, I will talk about such cases when marketing fails to work. See you in the next one, and thank you for watching.